Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, audience, public safety community, citizens, anybody tuning in. I am Jason Karp, your host for PSN News of the Week, PSN Now, an affiliate of PSN at Home. Welcome to today's broadcast of Public Safety News. Normally, I would be here with my good friend and colleague, TJ Kendi. He is conspicuously absent today because he has moved on to some greener pastures, taking over a big-time CEO role. That's right, with a big old public company, and he's rocking and rolling it and going to do great, and we wish him so well. He's remaining on the board of the Public Safety Network. We're going to continue to be working together, but at least for the time being, you got me for PSN Now, which is great because now I can make fun of TJ and he can't respond. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, let's get to the news. A lot continuing to go on. Craziness with COVID and the pandemic, craziness with the Black Lives Matter movement and the social unrest, craziness with our administration, craziness with the upcoming elections. There's just craziness everywhere. We got craziness with the weather. I mean, it's been 95, heat index 110 here in Northern Virginia, heat waves everywhere. There's a lot going on, and we need to keep it together, and public safety has got to be on its game. So, what's going on? The Black Lives Matter movement, polls show it is the largest movement in terms of participation in American history. Largest movement. Now, think about that. Think about the civil rights movement. Think about the Vietnam War protests. Think about women's suffrage, think about anti-apartheid, think about the Million Man March. I mean, this is the largest right now protests, civil rights movement going on in American history in terms of people participating. More people than ever are talking about the need for police reform, that police are using too much force, about defunding the police. There's a lot going on. And then, as I just said, we've got a pandemic, we've got climate change, we've got hurricane season. There is so many different things going on, seeking our attention, causing stress, anxiety for the public safety community. Really important that we coalesce and come together. This is a time for us to be coordinating interagency, interstate, and working with our local municipalities so that we're not pitted against each other about defund, don't defund, de-escalate, use of force, police reform. It's about being part of the conversation and helping us to manage through as members interested or part of the public safety community and our citizenry and our communities at large, working together to come up with solutions that ultimately are going to make us stronger and benefit us as a community and as a society once we get through this craziness on the other end. So that's kind of the opening here because I want to talk about a couple of key news items, but that's the backdrop and the context I think we need to have to start thinking about how do we take a positive, constructive approach to all of the unrest that's going on today. So let's talk a little bit about some of the specifics. St. Petersburg, Florida, they have called into question of the police funding. They've moved funding to have social workers respond to certain non-violent incidents. And very interesting to me that the group that has been most vocal and concerned that has written a letter to the local government about this is the fire union. Not the police, but the fire union. And they're concerned because they are called to these scenes to administer emergency medical care or other support. And they're concerned about their safety. And if there's not law enforcement present, whether it's an intoxication that could escalate or mental illness, they're scared for their safety. And you know what? I get it. That is a legitimate concern, right? And so this gets to my earlier point of, well, should municipalities be moving funds to enable social workers and other healthcare workers to respond to scenes, to be the initial first responders to scenes? And the question is, well, maybe yes, maybe no, or devil's in the details, right? This is the discussion we have to have. So, for example, as we know in Eugene, Oregon, we have the CAHOOTS program, right? Social workers in cahoots with the police. I love that, just the CAHOOTS program. I love it. They've been in business 30 years, and they've been sending social workers out to nonviolent incidents and 911 calls, and it's been highly successful. Not a single injury, not a single death as a result of that. So they obviously have a lot of experience. So that means, in my mind, if I'm part of St. Petersburg, I want to reach out to the folks there in Eugene, and I want to find out what they're doing. And whether I'm a member of the local government who's behind this move, or I'm a member of public safety and I want to bring them into the discussion to make it constructive, that's what we should do. In Dallas, they've got another program, similarly, where they have a combined team of EMS, police, and a psychological professional, social worker. They go out as a 3-person team. Police check the scene beforehand, they make sure it's safe, and then they, as a team, address the situation. And so if it's nonviolent, then the police step back, right? And they don't have that intimidation factor of someone in uniform, someone with a gun, approaching the situation. And so then the social worker will administer their, expertise, and then EMS is there if they need to administer, healthcare or medical assistance. So been very interesting. And the feedback coming out of that program, in fact, from the police, is that they've been learning a lot in terms of different kinds of techniques they can use from the social workers on the scene. And so this is a win-win, right? We're keeping the peace, we're ensuring everybody's safe, and we're going out in teams, and different constituencies are learning better protocols for how to handle and de-escalate certain situations. This is the kind of dialogue we need. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. And we've got this going on all over the country. We've got defunding mandates and legislation in Minneapolis, in Portland, in Baltimore, Hartford, Connecticut, Los Angeles. We've got Colorado talking about ending qualified immunity, and there's a bill in Massachusetts about the same. Virginia is now contemplating major statewide police reform. And in fact, right here in Loudoun County, we talked a little bit last week about how they were considering instituting a countywide police force to take over primary law enforcement duties from the sheriff's office. Well, now that's turned into a major or a much larger study, not only about the police force, but about complete government reform, like a completely new form of government, which hasn't happened, I think, just about anywhere since the early 70s. And so this could mean where scaled down police force, it could mean greater, social services, it could mean different kind of reporting structures. But we have to be part of the conversation. We in public safety, whether you're fire, whether you're police, whether you're EMS, right? We have to get out of this us versus them mentality, and we have to start working together to find the right solutions, because we are in a time that is unprecedented, and we can come out of this much stronger as a country. But we got to work together to do it. So a lot going on there. This is going to continue to be an evolving story. States, counties, municipalities are all going to be moving forward with new proposed legislation, regulatory reforms. You've got sheriff's offices versus, accountable to the voters. You've got police forces accountable to the local governments. And so now we're starting to see a little bit of that battle, and where does real accountability come from? Hearing a lot about civilian review boards, civilian oversight committees. I personally think this is a good idea. I know, not everyone necessarily agrees with me, but this is about, we talk about community policing. We talk about getting integrated into the community and ensuring a most cost-effective, most effective way of administering public safety. You want the community and you want public safety working together. So having, joint committees, councils, task force, where you have public safety working together with the community to develop new ideas, to be a second pair of eyes when something goes awry. These can be good things if they're done in an apolitical way, and they're done, in order to effectuate a positive outcome. So enough about that. That was all serious and, everything that's going on, but we got some pretty serious times going on here. So a lot of stuff happening. It's exciting. It's scary, but it's something we have to deal with, and this is the new reality. So let's talk a little bit what's going on in tech, because we love the tech. Technology rocks. So what's going on in tech? Let's start with FirstNet. 1.5 million subscriptions, over 13,000 agencies signed on to FirstNet. That's huge. Those of you know, I'm former chief counsel and a senior executive of the FirstNet Authority, now becoming many moons ago. So I'm very excited to see this program be successful, to see more and more of our EMS, our fire agencies, our police adopting this technology. This communications platform is critical. It gives you full priority, it gives you preemption, gives you security, encryption, full applications ecosystem, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute. And it's proving that it works and that there's resiliency and it stays up. So it's great to see this. It's great to see other public safety networks that are coming along as well. The things that Verizon are doing, what T-Mobile is announced, and they all have their strengths, they all have their weaknesses. It's up to each agency, to kind of pick and choose and decide what's right for them, but to ensure that they're getting this right technology in their hands as a platform to be able to use these new tools that are being made available is just critical. And so, talking about tools, Rumble Up, which is a peer-to-peer texting application, has now been approved for use on the FirstNet network, and this is exciting. So Rumble Up is, as I said, a peer-to-peer, one-to-many, but one-on-one conversations for texting. So it's been used in the political context for many, many, many years. So get out to vote, campaigns, donation campaigns, right? This is people on computers texting hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people, not in terms of a blast, one-size-fits-all broadcast email, but on an individual basis, and being able to have individual conversations, but in a very efficient way. So why is this important for public safety? Why is this important that it's now in FirstNet? Is for disaster response, right? So now we have yet another tool that can operate using FirstNet or other prioritized public safety broadband networks to be able to communicate to citizens in a very personal one-on-one way, because it's not a one-size-fits-all situation for every disaster. Let's say you've got a situational awareness tool, riding on FirstNet, and you've got a geofencing capability, and you need to communicate with certain people within a geofenced area who have a more urgent need for either evacuation or take action, and it's a different messaging than others in different geographies. Well, this kind of peer-to-peer texting now allows you to customize. So you could be using FirstNet with a situational awareness app with geofencing, so that you know who within a certain geofenced area needs to be contacted about a disaster, and then you have a tool that you can use very efficiently to contact all those people and tell them what they need to do to stay safe. This is what FirstNet and public safety broadband and new technology tools are supposed to give to public safety. So this to me is very, very exciting, and seeing this along with things like the Alario Mobile Hub and with Rapid SOS and Intrepid and Intrado and Rapid Deploy, a computer-aided dispatch in the cloud, and Mark 43. I mean, the list goes on and on. 3 a.m. in their XYZ access location for firefighters. Just the tip of the iceberg of all the new technology we're seeing. It's super exciting, and I encourage everyone to reach out, to do trials, and to start employing these tools where they can, because it's going to make both you and our community safer. So now moving on to something on the lighter side. We call this PSN, I was going to say PSN Now. It's PSN Wow, because these are wow stories. These are stories like, seriously? Scratch your head. What are you talking about here? Come on. Are you serious? Come on. Anyway, check this out. patient in Stanislaus County, California, somehow made her way from the back of the ambulance to the driver's seat, took off, joyride, full lights and sirens, the whole thing. You know, I get it, right? Because in my day as a youth, you know, I may have dabbled in maybe an inappropriate thing or two, and I could see why somebody wants to go lights and sirens down the highway at 70 miles an hour. It's kind of exciting, but it's crazy, right? This is what COVID, this is what the pandemic, this is what's happening to people. They're getting a little bit stir crazy. They're doing some crazy things. She was ultimately apprehended, going to be prosecuted, as she should. So I'm thinking, all right, crazy story. We've heard of that before. We reported on a similar case a couple of months ago. Someone did something similar. I think it was down in Texas, either Texas or Florida. I can't remember. But what's so exciting now, I guess Texas is next, is that on the same day, a San Antonio ambulance was hijacked by a 28-year-old woman while the paramedics were taking the patient into the hospital, and they left the rig running. And guess what? You got it. Jumped in, boom, off they go. Crashed into a pole, minor damage, ultimately, you know, got pulled over, was apprehended, surrendered to police. What's going on? Why is everybody stealing ambulances? You know, I get the excitement, but like, what's going on here, right? It's just weird. But this gets back to the earlier point. We are in unprecedented times. People are under tremendous amounts of pressure. There is increased depression, increased anxiety. So in the public safety community, now we know this, right? We know this is going on and this is going to continue. So we have to prepare. We have to use our tools, whether it's technology, we have to use our training, you know, to effectively deal with these situations. And we need to start thinking ahead and mitigating risk. So while obviously EMTs are focused on the patients, we may even need to think about making sure that these rigs are not accessible or that they are turning them off, when bringing patients in. But of course, that's only if the situation warrants it, right? And they have time to do that. So these are just things we need to think about. You know, it's unfortunate. There are more risks and there are more issues that we got to deal with, but hey, say la vie. That's why we're public safety professionals. That's why you're public safety professionals. I just report on it. You know what I'm saying? I'm a technologist kind of guy, but you are all out there on the front line making it happen, and you are the experts. And so this is what it takes. We got to step up and we got to do what we need to do to get through this crisis together. Boom. Let's end on a good story. Let's end on a feel-gooder. A feel-gooder. I feel good. So down in Asheville, North Carolina, and I used to live in North Carolina, so that's how I used to talk when I was down there. In Asheville, North Carolina, there is an organization, not-profit organization, donating support animals, support dogs, to public safety agencies. I love this. And there's a story here of a firefighter, Mark Jameson, in particular down in Asheville, who went on a particularly difficult call. And unfortunately, an elderly person was found deceased in their home. They had pets that were also deceased because they hadn't been fed. And you can just imagine the kind of trauma and what this does to someone who experiences that, right? And there are many of you out there who have experienced this thing. So having a tool like a support animal to come back to can be absolutely critical. And in this report, the firefighter Jameson came back, was greeted by Denali, who was the service dog, and it really helped him to get through that difficult time. The service dog organization is called Pause and Effect, and based in Asheville. And they placed the support dog in the fire department in January. So a shout out to Pause and Effect and to the Asheville Fire Department for what they're doing with the support animals. I think this is great. Love to see this expanded to other departments. It really helps. I am a new dog owner myself of a wonderful, wonderful dog, a Bernedoodle, big thing. And I can tell you, after a hard day, getting the licks, getting the hugs, getting the support, getting the love makes a huge difference. We are all people. We're in it together. We need to stick together and get through this crisis however we can. With that, I want to say have a safe and healthy weekend, and a safe and healthy week. Keep doing what you're doing, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. So from PSN Now, I'm Jason Karp Esquire, signing off. Ciao.